Habiba, and today I'm going to read you the story Pumpkin Soup. Let's start. Deep in the woods, there's an old white cabin with pumpkins in the garden. There's a good smell of soup, and at night, with luck, you might see a bagpiping cat through the window, and a squirrel with a banjo, and a small singing duck. You see, this is the white cabin, and the pumpkins are in the garden. Nice house they got, right? Pumpkin soup, the best you ever tasted, made by the cat who slices up the pumpkin, made by the squirrel who stirs in the water, made by the duck who scoops up a pumpkin of salt and tips in just enough. As you can see, the cat is slicing the pumpkin, the squirrel is stirring, and the duck is just putting the salt in the soup, and they're just eating it. I think it looks delicious. You would try to make it sometime. They slurp their soup, they play their song, then pop off to bed in a quilt stitched together by the cat, embroidered by the squirrel, and filled with fine feathers from the duck. And it's peaceful in the white old cabin. Everyone has their own job to do. You see, they are eating and then they play their songs, and the bed, well, I'll explain it to you. Made by the cat who stitched, made by the squirrel who just made the designs, and made by the duck who filled it with fine feathers. Everyone is happy, or it seems. But one morning, the duck woke up early. He tiptoed into the kitchen and smiled at Squirrel's special spoon. "Wouldn't it be fine?" he murmured, "if I could be the head cook?" He drew up a stool, hopped on top, and reached until his beak just touched the tip of the spoon. Kerplunk! Down it clattered. Then the duck trotted back to the bedroom, held up the spoon, and said, "Today it's my turn to stir the soup." You see, I think it isn't fair to do anybody else's job, but Duck is little, so it might not be unfair to him. You see, now the cat and the squirrel are waking up, and the duck is just climbing into bed. "That's mine!" squeaked the squirrel. "Stirring is my job! Give that back!" "You're much too small," snapped the cat. "We'll cook the way we always have." But the duck held on tight until the squirrel tugged with all his might, and whoops! The spoon spun through the air and bobbed the cat on the head. Then there was trouble, a horrible squabble, a row, a racket, a rumpus in the old white cabin. As you can see, it seems unfair to the little duck that it's not his turn to cook, but I think they'll do it as always they have. You see, squirrel and duck angry, talking crossly at each other. Squirrel and duck. Squirrel is tugging. Squirrel and duck. Duck let go, so squirrel just tugged with all his might, and the spoon hit cat on the head. As you can see, there's a horrible squabble everywhere. "I'm not staying here," wailed the duck. "You never let me alone anything." And she picked up a barrow, put on his hat, and waddled away. "You'll be back," stormed the cat, "after we clean up." And the squirrel shook his spoon in the air, but the duck didn't come back. "Not for breakfast, not even for lunch. I'll find him," scoffed the cat. "He'll be hiding outside." As you can see, there are not even friends, so the duck decided to leave. The cat is pointing out and saying, "You'll be back." And the squirrel angrily is waving the spoon in the air. So let's go and start it more. "I bet he's in the pumpkin patch." But the duck was not in the pumpkin patch. They could not find him anywhere. As you can see, the squirrel and the cat are searching for him in the pumpkin patch, but there's no sign of him anywhere. So they waited all that long afternoon. The cat washed the door, the squirrel paced the floor. "That duck will be sorry when he comes home," they muttered. But the duck didn't come home, not even at soup time. Well, look at them, all alone, even at singing time. And I think they put in too much salt. Look, they're just putting a whole bowl of salt. I won't eat it. If I were them, I won't eat it, all that salty one. The soup wasn't tasty. They'd made it too salty. Yuck! Salty, too much salt. Yuck! Ugh. They didn't feel hungry anyway. They both sobbed over super, and their tears dripped into the soup and made it even saltier. "We should have let him stir the soup," sniffed the squirrel. "He was only trying to help," wept the cat. "Let's go out and look for him." As you can see, they both are crying. Well, so it may seem fair to them, but now they miss their friend. The cat and squirrel were scared as they wandered down the path. In the dark woods, they feared for the duck all alone with the trees, and the foxes and the wolves and the witches and the bears. But they couldn't find him. See? It's swearing, but there's no such thing as witches, right? On and on they trotted. They reached the edge of a steep cliff. "Maybe he fell down that," wailed the cat. "I'll save him," squeaked the squirrel, and he scrambled down on a long, shaky rope. He searched all around on the ground, but he couldn't find the duck. The squirrel's kind of doing. As you can see, the duck is just falling down, but it's their hope the duck is falling. It's not real that the duck is falling. Then the cat whispered in a sad little voice, "Duck might have found some better friends." "He might," yelped the squirrel. "Friends who let him help." And the more they thought about it as they plodded back, the more they were sure they were right. As you can see, yum, it makes my tummy rumble. Duck's kitchen! It was this soup made Duck famous. How does he do it? They go in thin, they come out fat. Yum! The duck has opened a kitchen. I don't think that's really true. I think it's their hope. But when they were almost home, they saw a light shining from the old white cabin. "It's Duck!" they shrieked, and they burst through the door. And Duck was so pleased to see them, and he was also very hungry. And too, it was late. They thought they would all make. I'll tell you later. But first, as you can see, the cat is pointing. "Look at the house! The light is shining!" As they opened the door, the duck was crying. "Poor little guy," The duck was crying and was so pleased to see them. I all went into a snuggly hug. They thought they would all make some pumpkin soup. When the duck stirred, the cat and squirrel didn't say a word. Not even when the duck stirred the soup so fast that it slopped right out of the pot. Not even when the pot got burned. Then the duck showed Squirrel how to measure out the salt. And the soup was still the best you ever tasted. So once again it was peaceful in the white old cabin until Duck said, I think I'll play the bagpipes now. See, everything's just going in a muddle when the duck tries to stir the soup. So there's a lot of the house, the cabin is not so clean. Oh my. When Duck said, I'll play the bagpipes now, the cat is really cross, even the squirrel. The squirrel is waving his spoon angrily in the air. The end. Thank you for watching. This is one of my favorite stories. When I was just in a reading age, as you can see, I just read it all the time. So I thought you might enjoy it as well. So thanks for watching. Keep watching, keep reading. Bye.